Okay, so there's this super interesting list that's been going viral literally everywhere, like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And I kind of wanted to bring it up and give my thoughts on it because, I mean, it's not a super long list or anything, but I think there's a lot of interesting points to be brought up from the list. And like, I have so many things I want to talk about with it. First though, if you're new here, please drop a subscription. I drop daily underground commentary videos, so you're going to want to stay up to date with that. Also, Merry Christmas Eve. I hope you guys had a great year, and I wish you the best for the 2025 to come. Okay, so yeah, let's get into this list. It's called the list of the most streamed underground artists last week. Okay, and it was tweeted by Most Hip Hop, who's like a big rap Twitter account that talks about, you know, mostly mainstream stuff like, I don't know, Kendrick Lamar and Drake. But it was interesting to see them put out an underground list, and it kind of just lists all the underground artists and how many streams they got this week, and it's the top 15 of them. So at number 15 they had Dave Blunts with 2.4 million streams. At number 13 they had Sofago with 2.5 million streams. At number 13 was Can, which was surprising, with 2.5 million streams. Then they had Baby Kia with 3.1 million streams, 2 Hollis with 3.4 million streams, Glock 40 and Laserdem with 4.2, which was pretty interesting. We had Summers with 5 million, Osama Sun with 5.2 million, Autumn with 5.8 million, and then at number 5, starting off the top 5, we had Netspend, who just dropped the album with 11.9 million, Rich Amiri, who also just dropped the album with 12.8 million, Ian with 13 million, Destroy Lonely with 16.7 million, and Ken Carson with 44.9 million. Okay, so I mean, we see clearly the top 2 on the list are Destroy Lonely and Ken Carson, the Opium duo, and that's what makes me think that this list was kind of publicized or pushed out by Opium, which was one of the interesting things, because I was thinking, bro, like, why is this list getting posted on literally every page? Like, I was trying to figure out the angle, and it's definitely the fact that the 2 top underground artists, so-called, are both Opium, you know, Ken and Lone. Sadly, we don't see Osama Sun. Sadly, we don't see Homicide Gang on this list, and that would have completed the Opium trio. But there's a bunch of interesting things I want to point out. First of all, Rich Amiri and Netspend dropped the same day, but Rich Amiri is up 900,000 streams. And honestly, given the size difference, or the alleged size difference between the two, you'd think the difference would be way higher. I mean, Rich Amiri literally has 7 million monthly listeners. He has songs with 400 million streams on Spotify with One Call, and then Out of There and Ain't Nothing both have, you know, 40 million. So honestly, bro, this is a W for Netspend to pretty much be on par with Rich Amiri in terms of listens throughout the week, even though he's so much of a smaller artist. I think that's a lot of things. That's a big thing that people have been disregarding. Like, remember, it said Netspend sold 9K. They're like, oh, like that's a flop. He only sold 9K, but bro, Netspend is super underground. Like, we see him as like a big artist because, I don't know, we're in the internet and we're in this scene, but outside of it, Netspend is tiny, bro. He has no mainstream features, no mainstream looks. Like, he's doing it all organic, like from the bottom. So that's interesting. Another point that I thought was super interesting was that Can is on this list with 2.5 million streams in the last week. And I mean, he's dropped 2 songs in the last year or something, like real solo songs. The only thing he dropped was My Way and So Long, which was a little 2-pack EP, and those alone, I guess, are generating him these streams. So it's cool to see Can on here. He's literally like MIA, like not dropping, and he was on top of Dave Blunts too, which is so there's actually a few interesting things to point out with that, you know, because Dave Blunts and Can have had a little bit of a back and forth, and the reason that it's interesting is because Can said that no one listens to these gimmick artists, but Dave Blunts is in the top 15 with 2.4 million streams in the last week, which, I mean, shows that clearly people are listening. He almost caught up to Can, but also the thing is Can hasn't dropped in forever, and Dave Blunts dropped 3-4 albums this year, I believe. So no, maybe 5 albums. So yeah. Another thing I thought was really crazy was that Glock 40 and Laserdem have the same amount of monthly listeners, and Glock 40 is kind of seen as like a much smaller artist than Laserdisc. I mean, he has way less monthly listeners, and he's more of like a underground, like a real underground type of artist. Although he did drop the album Slaughterhouse Records. I don't know if you would consider it an album, more of like an EP. It's only 7 songs, but he dropped that, you know, about a month and a half ago. So he's definitely been putting out a lot of music recently. The same does apply to Laserdisc though, and they're both Atlanta artists, and Laserdisc just put out the Keeping It Cloudy album literally a week ago. So honestly, I think this is a sign that people aren't listening to Laserdisc as much these days, and he's still viral and like a big guy, but I think the music isn't the main pull. I've talked about this before, like with Laserdisc, it's kind of more like the image and him being funny. He's like a meme, you know? Another thing I thought was crazy was that Autumn is outstreaming Summers, and I think a lot of people see Summers as the bigger artist, but I mean, it's not like anyone is really breaking through with a bunch of promo or anything. Like, they're kind of just capitalizing off of the fan bases they've gained over the years. And it seems to me that Autumn has had a bigger fan base because he did drop that little EP B4B to MR, like before Back to Audemars or whatever it was. I don't know. But other than those 4 songs, they've kind of been on similar trajectories. So I guess that shows that Autumn is definitely picking up steam out of the Slay World group. Two Hollis is on there with 3.4 million streams, which is pretty crazy to see given where he was about a year ago, you know, like not even close, not even anywhere close to that. Before we get into the public's reply to this list, because it kind of did generate a lot of controversy, I think we got to talk about Ian, who was like, he was clear, bro. Like, he was huge for a moment. He had his moment for sure, but it seems like it's cooling back down and he's way below Ken Carson. I think there was a certain point where people were started to compare the numbers and stuff, but I mean, right now it's pretty clear that Ken Carson is way bigger than Ian, and whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, whatever. But NFR podcast replied to this tweet saying W Ken, and they called him leader of the new school, which is pretty fair. I mean, he's literally, I mean, if you add up the next, 3 people on the list, they don't even beat the number 1, so that's pretty crazy. Another big argument was people saying that the list isn't even underground. They were saying stuff like, if you have 45 million monthly listeners, you are not underground. They also said all of these dudes signed, and that's kind of an uneducated take. Like, bro, you can be signed and still be underground. Like, labels will literally sign artists when they have like a couple thousand listeners. I mean, a couple thousand followers on Instagram, bro. It's pretty sad though, because literally every single reply is saying underground. Like, oh, this isn't underground. This isn't underground. But I think it's kind of just coming from people who are artists themselves and are like, oh, how can you call this dude underground when he has so many monthly listeners? Like, I'm underground. I have 3 monthly listeners. So yeah. I don't think that's a good take. Someone also said, hot take, Two Hollis will have over 2 million monthly listeners by the end of 2025, as well as at least one massive feature. I'm guessing a Drake feature or a JID feature. And this is probably the worst take that I've ever seen. Why would Drake or JID ever work with Two Hollis? I don't know, bro. Like, I hopefully no one proves me wrong and shoves this in my face, but that's low-key the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. Someone also said Ken is not underground anymore. He's big enough to headline Rolling Loud, and low-key Ken is getting to the point where he can headline certain like rap rage festivals, because I mean, his crowds are always super lit, super packed. Like, I don't know, bro. I was at this recent Rolling Loud. If you want to see about my experience, then check out this vlog. Actually, it's a beautiful video. But yeah, if you saw his crowd there, bro, you would definitely think, oh, Ken. It's possible for Ken to headline a festival. Someone else said the fact Netspend is a highly viewed underground rapper means if I spit out non-coherent lyrics with a random ass beat could get me millions of dollars. And unfortunately, that is not true. I'm so sorry. There's a lot of Netspend hate going around the internet lately just due to the success he's been having. One more thing we should point out is kind of how low Sofago is on this list. Almost the bottom. Like, literally artists like Dave Blunts are on par with Sofago. I mean, that's kind of a sad state of his career, unfortunately. Even Can Summers is doubled Sofago, so I don't know. There was that whole beef back in the day with Sofago and Summers, and Like for a little bit we thought, oh, Sofego won because he went mainstream, he went industry, like he's up. But clearly Summers has taken it over because he literally has 5 million listens the last week with Sofego and half of that. Let me know your thoughts on the list in the comments though. I thought it was really interesting, and hopefully you have some thoughts as well that you can share with our beautiful comment section. Subscribe if you're new, and appreciate you for watching this far. Bye.